class. Prof JC here, and I really appreciate what we're going to talk about today. It's chapter 10 from our book right here, and it's called The Love of the Craft. The love of the craft. Anytime we're talking about this idea of purpose, anytime we're trying to find purpose, discover purpose, figure out what direction we're going, it has to come back to the thing itself. The most successful people that I've studied in life, they are successful because they have found something that they are deeply passionate about, and they continue to move towards that passion. They are in love with that passion. It's the love of the craft. It's the love of the game. Okay. So I'm just going to read. There's going to be some different stories in here that I'm going to read through, and then we'll kind of get to our question. I want to be remembered. So this is the quote here on page 151. I want to be remembered as someone who wasn't afraid to start things. Tina Roth Eisenberg shared that. And then it starts, here's the lesson from the chapter. Effort can be its own reward. And then it says this: some people are motivated by achievement, others by process, but others still are motivated by a specific blend of both, achievement and process, right? These people are all about making things and sharing them with the world over and over and over. Why create? Because you can. Or for some people, because it's what they love to do more than anything else. They like the act of creation and the act of distribution. When they finish a task, they ask the question, what's next? That's probably a lot of you on the call today, okay? You got that leadership mindset, you got that business mindset, you finish something up, that personality of yours says, where am I going to next? I'll tell you, that is certainly, that's certainly the case with me. Always another mountain to climb, and I think that's a wonderful thing to do. In some cases, they'll even work for free. I won't necessarily do that, but now let's go on. He gives some examples here. So let's come to page 154. He talks about this gentleman named Seth Godin. And Seth Godin is an amazing human being, has a lot of blogs and books and all that he writes. Here's what he has to say about it. Excuse me, everyone. It's been a long week. Seth Godin gets up early, makes a cup of herbal tea, and sits at a big desk overlooking the Hudson River in New York. Then he settles into work, and he doesn't get up for a long time. Seth has hundreds of fans, hundreds, that's not true, hundreds of thousands of fans, and at least a few notable critics. But there's one thing about him that everyone agrees on: the man is prolific. According to him, he reads, researches, and writes an average of 15 hours a day. Can you imagine? He publishes a post on his blog every single day, no exceptions. At least once a year, he publishes a book, sometimes twice or 3 times a year, and sometimes more than one at a time. One day, a huge box showed up at my door. It contained what Seth called his behemoth, a 700, so this is the author speaking here, a behemoth, a 700-page, 275,000-word monster compilation of several years of his posts. In addition to the writing projects, Seth regularly launches new commercial ventures and frequently invites students to apply for internships in which they can work on Godin projects while developing their own entrepreneurial skills. Somewhere in the process, he sleeps at least a few hours every night. It is important to note that not all of Seth's projects are big successes. In fact, by his account, he's had far more failures. He invented the first ever videotaped aquarium and fireplace. For some reason, it wasn't a huge seller. In the early days of the internet, he published a book entitled Email Addresses of the Rich and Famous, which resulted in celebrity backlash. So he found all these email addresses of these celebrity folks and just put them in a book. That's hilarious. The lesson, as he explains it, is this: if I fail more than you do, I win. Built into this notion is the ability to keep playing. If you get to keep playing, sooner or later, you're going to make it succeed. The people who lose are the ones who don't fail at all, or the ones who fail so big they don't get up to play again. Seth frequently writes about the concept of shipping. I love this term right here. It's a term he uses as the means of disseminating work to the world. In Seth's worldview, art doesn't exist until it is widely shared. And he says this: I viewed my life for 25 years as more opportunity to poke the box. One more opportunity. to try something different. So again, for Seth, it's the love of the game. It's the thing he's doing. It's not, I'm trying to be famous. I'm trying to have all these hundreds of thousands of people follow me. No, he does it because it's the love of the game. Now let's go over here and talk about stand-up comics. Page 161. I was surprised, the author says, to learn that some famous comedians who've achieved household name status and banked hundreds of millions of dollars continue to focus relentlessly on the steady craft of telling jokes on stage. For example, despite appearing on television 5 nights a week and being viewed by millions, Jay Leno spent the weekends during his final years of hosting The Tonight Show getting ready for a smaller performance. Every Sunday, instead of taking it easy, he took the stage at the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach, California, for a traditional stand-up routine. The question is, why bother? But here's the deal. Leno sees his routine as a form of self-assessment. If it goes well in the club, he feels okay. If not, he gets worried. When you work in TV, he told a magazine interviewer, you get these odd notes on little slips of paper that say you are or aren't doing well with the boys between ages of 9 and 13, or you need to make more cat jokes because people with cats aren't watching enough. But if you walk into a 1,500-seat theater and it's packed, you know you're doing fine. If it's only 2/3 full, you know you have more work to do. So again, that immediate feedback that you're getting, right? You rent a theater, fill it up, you're doing okay. You rent a theater, don't fill it up, you got some work to do. Meanwhile, Jerry Seinfeld, whose estimated worth is $800 million, regularly hops on a plane to perform in small clubs throughout the country. Again, when you're Jerry Seinfeld, why bother? Well, for him, it isn't about reinforcing the success elsewhere. Instead, it's about refinement. If I don't do a set in 2 weeks, I can feel it, Seinfeld told the New York Times. I read an article a few years ago that said when you practice a sport a lot, you literally become a broadband. The nerve pathway in your brain contains a lot more information. As soon as you stop practicing, the pathway begins shrinking down. Reading that changed my life. I used to wonder, why am I doing these sets, getting on stage? Don't I know how to do this already? Well, the answer is no. You must keep doing it. The broadband starts to narrow the moment you stop. Both Seinfeld and Leno believe that continually getting on stage without a safety net is key to their ability to thrive. Not only that, but in some ways, the journey is the destination. Telling jokes and connecting with the audiences, however small, is the point itself. It's not about fame and what's out there. You do the thing for the thing itself. According to Seinfeld, the goal was refining a tiny thing for the sake of it. And he has no plans to stop flying to small cities and putting on expected shows in tiny venues. What do the best stand-up comics have in common? Well, they're driven by obsession. That's Dave Chappelle, Jay Leno, Jerry Seinfeld, Steve Harvey, back in his heyday when he was doing a lot of stand-up. He was driven by obsession. The obsession with continuously refining a small thing can be a quest of its own. I want to read about one more person here. Stephen Kellogg has been an independent musician for more than a decade, releasing a dozen albums and playing more than 1,200 concerts. I heard Stephen, the author says this, I heard Stephen at a TEDx event where he shared a story before his performance. When he was a kid, all he wanted to do was play music. He grew up listening to Bon Jovi and practicing air guitar in his bedroom. Somewhere along the way, the air guitar changed to a real guitar, and Stephen got his first gig. Times were hard in the beginning with only a few people coming to the concerts that paid almost nothing, but Stephen didn't care. He was a musician. He had the chance to play. At that point in the story, he said something that stayed with me ever since. Here's what Stephen had to say. It's better to be at the bottom of the ladder you want to climb than at the top of the one you don't. That's so good. It's better to be at, and some of you, again, we're talking about this idea of purpose. I've been doing this thing with Point Loma long enough to know to watch people come through our program for 18 months. And they realize, and I've seen this with classes, they realize I'm at the top of a ladder somewhere in the middle or wherever I'm at, but I'm on the wrong ladder, right? Excuse me. And the great thing about this program I have found the great thing about this program is that people, if they're self-aware enough, they make the changes they need to make sure that they get on the right ladder, even if they have to go to the bottom. I can tell you of 2 to 3 different instances with our in-person students where this has happened. And I applaud them every single time because I think, man, at least they're getting it. Now they can really climb because now they're on the right ladder and now they know where they're going. They've got a much clearer direction. Compared to a traditional career that might have offered more security, Stephen's struggle to play his own music and cultivate his own fan base made him far happier. He wrote me later to follow up. This is the author speaking. When I asked what had changed after 1,200 shows, he said something else I liked. And here's what he had to say. I've just grown from a boy with an inclination into a man with a focus. A boy or girl with an inclination to a man or woman with a focus. That's key right there when it comes to purpose. It all started with the dream, but then I followed that dream. Following that dream made all the difference. My daughter and I were just having this talk the other day, my youngest daughter, and she loves Taylor Swift. Huge Taylor Swift fan. She wants to be Taylor Swift. And now I'm smart enough to know that just because you want to be Taylor Swift doesn't mean you're going to be Taylor Swift. And so I asked her a question the other day, and I don't know, you might disagree with me doing this with her. She's 8 years old. Maybe I should be, yeah, you can go be Taylor Swift. But she's in softball right now, and she's doing a really good job with softball. And I'd like to see her just stay on that because every year she's getting exponentially better. And I could see her in high school really doing something great with it. She's understanding the game. She has passion. She will cry. There's one night we stayed up way too late. It wasn't way too late, but she had a game the next morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. And she normally goes to bed around 8 o'clock, 8:39. And we were up till like 11 for whatever reason. And she looks at the clock and she starts crying. And she starts crying and she says, Daddy, and she has tears in her eyes. I have to go to bed, and she's like disappointed in herself. She said, if I don't get to sleep, I'm not going to be good for my team tomorrow. And she's got tears. And I was like, oh my goodness, her. And then I've seen her at times when she scores a point or she does a really good job. And she's very excited about that. And she's very excited about scoring her own points. But I've also seen her when other team members, when they score, she's just excited. She's just as excited for the other team member. And I looked at that and I said, this is where she needs to go. But now she wants to be Taylor Swift. So the question I asked her was, if she looks at these stadiums and sees Taylor and she's like, I want that. But the question I asked her is, I said, if you could be Taylor's age and you could sing and do it for a living, but you never had those stadiums, if you were only in bars the rest of your life, would you still want to sing? And she looked at me without hesitating. Oh, no, not at all. I said, well, you don't really want to be a singer. You're not really doing, because here's what I think. I think Taylor Swift would still do what Taylor Swift does in small rooms and bars across the nation if that's all she could do. I think she really is in it. I was actually watching one of her concerts. I haven't really liked her, and I'm actually kind of starting to. My daughter's kind of getting me. I mean, I'm not gonna drive around and listen to her, but I'm okay with it because I watch her concerts and she really loves the music. She has a passion for the music, a passion for the audience, a passion for sharing all that with them. And so she's doing the right thing. So the point of all of this, it's about the love of the game. It's not about the outcome. It's not about the end goal for you as you pursue your purposes or you're in your purpose. And if you can't get up every single day and say, this is the thing that I'm meant to do, okay? This is the thing that I love to do, and find something, then maybe, I hate to say this, because I know some of us in this class, we're kind of mid-career, but maybe we're not where we're supposed to be. And I've had that happen to me. And it was a very hard change. It took 2 years of pain to kind of get through that. But now I'm on a much better path and I'm exactly where I need to be. And I want the same thing for you. The question, here's what I want you to reflect on. This really, everything we're talking about today really has a lot to do with this idea of consistency. You find something, you stay on it for the love of the thing itself. It's not always just about the outcome. I mean, of course, there can be some things about it, but it's not always about the outcome. I want to ask you to go a little bit deep on this question here. If your life is going in the direction that you want it to go, what is the thing about your current career? Let's keep it about job, current career, or again, some people have to get a job in order to live their purpose, right? Maybe someone who says my purpose is to sing in music theater, but they can't get a job on Broadway, so they go get a full-time job so they can do the music theater at nighttime and see what happens. But so that if you're living somehow that way, okay, if you're living your purpose, what is it that if you're doing that, what is it that you would say drives you, and how do you know that you're living your purpose? That's a question for you. So those are for the people who are living their purpose. For those of you in the class who maybe look at this and you're kind of reading through something like this, and again, it's the love of the game. I guess the question I would ask for you is, if you're not fully in your purpose, why are you not fully in your purpose? Okay. And there's no shame in that. Okay. But why are you not following your purpose? And then I guess the question is, what is that thing that you would want to do for the love of the thing? And then what are some potential steps that you could do to get to that thing? There we go. And I couldn't repeat those questions if I tried, so I'm not going to try to repeat them. If you didn't get the question, go back and rewind it. But pick one of those two lanes, answer one of those two questions based on everything we just talked about. It is the love of the game. It's staying in it. I'm looking forward to reading your answers. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next week for our final podcast, everybody. Stay in there, okay? We're in the home stretch. You take care. I'll see you soon.